Hi, this is Jeneen Miller, and you are watching Pieces of Victory. Today we have on our show Mackenzie Millar.
You are a survivor of Victory Christian Academy, which started in 1985, and there are articles about this program in the Los Angeles Times and also in the Tampa Bay Times. You can pull up any articles on the subject matter if you go to jeneenmiller.com, or you can visit Mackenzie Millar and see her TikTok.
Part of it.
So you knew what it was like to be a Christian before you were sent to this evil boot camp, taking on the flag of Christianity.
Off of it in Victory, I was really sick.
And you're supposed to cut back on the dosage little by little until you're weaned off of it. Otherwise, you can get sick. You can die from that, and you can pay services to get your kids to a reform school, conversion therapy, wilderness camp for kids, rehabilitation programs. Can you tell me a little bit about how you were transported?
This was one of my worst memories that I have to date, and I'm in my 30s now, so this is still hard to talk about. But yeah, I was sleeping in my bed, and I was at my parents' house. I was at home, and a light switch went on, and I noticed the light switch went on, and I woke up, and I had a very big gentleman standing over me. And I say gentleman, he wasn't very kind, but
Right.
it was a male and another female, and it was just like, get up, get out of bed.
What time was this at? Do you know?
I remember it being 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I was telling her, stop, like I didn't want to go, like please help me, and they're just like, just go with them.
Oh no.
They thought I was going to give me structure and get me off the medication.
Oh my God. So then what happened? You get to the school. What happens inside the school?
If you were inside, you couldn't get out unless you tried to, break out. But everything was on sensors. Everything was on alarms. If you tried to run out in the yard, and I saw girls try to run out in the yard before, they were promptly tackled, not only by staff, but they had golf carts that they would drive around the property too. So like if you were running and taking off and they couldn't get in their car to chase you down, they'd grab a golf cart really quick. And I got brought back to the showers, and I remember I had to like strip naked in front of my peers.
Did they delouse you too?
They put like the lice stuff in my hair, and they also like inspected like my body. Like they made me hold out my arms and like turn around a couple times to make sure I didn't have any piercings.
Okay, so they're checking for piercings, but did they even check your hair to see if you had lice?
No, the buddy system. So, I was yellow shirt.
Buddy system to everybody?
Yeah, the buddy system is basically you are yellow shirted. I think is it for your first month or 3 months? I can't remember exactly.
The first month on buddy, and in Ramona, California, it was 3 feet behind a student, and you had to follow them around. Very degrading.
Yeah.
To be behind another student, following them around.
And they would order you around.
Out of line, we were threatened to be put on dog leashes. In fact, I saw another student with a leash tied from her buddy to her. Can you explain about the Get Right room? Were you sent to the Get Right room at the very beginning of your stay?
I was sent to the Get Right room after I started throwing up off my medication. Not in the very beginning. I was threatened with it, but I never went in right away.
Okay, do you want to talk about the medication?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know this is a difficult subject for you to talk about.
No, you're fine. I was on 12 different medications for anxiety and depression. It was only like a couple hours of school, so this is not like a full day of learning. You're going to be here for a year, and I was just like, I remember saying F that to him because I wouldn't get up, because he's like, get up, get out of the chair, get out of this room, go back to your dorm, stay with your buddy. And I was like, no, I'm staying right here. I want to call my mom. I wanted a phone call. I wanted to talk to her because I didn't understand what was going on. We were not allowed to call our parents. And so I just remember sitting there and saying, F that. Like, I'm not going to be here for a year, because he told me, he's like, you're going to be here for a year. And he was angry. when he said this to me. You know, it wasn't nice. And so I said, F that. And his response was, we can get girls to floor you. Flooring is basically where they will take you and they will get the largest girls at Victory, not just, you know, in weight, but in height to, and most of the time you're dragged to the Get Right room as this is happening. So you're not only being floored in the classroom, you could get floored in the classroom and then drugged to the Get Right room and then get floored in the Get Right room again. So flooring is basically they take the biggest girls and they have them, the staff members and the girls will sit on you, on top of you as you're lying flat on your stomach. And then they will get a bar of soap and shove it in your mouth and hold it there. There was a student that I had talked to where she was getting floored and she was fighting back hard against getting floored, and they were trying to shove the soap into her mouth, and she's gritting her teeth because she doesn't want the soap in her mouth.
Natural.
And shoved it so hard, rammed it in her mouth, that her 2 front teeth broke out.
Oh my God.
She had very long hair down to her waist, and she had it back like this, and I remember the girl, and they took her by her hair, and they grabbed it like this, and she is back like that, and they just dragged her across the carpet by her hair into the Get Right room.
The audience, what happens when you get into this place? You are strip searched. There's no cameras. There's no video. I mean, you don't have your phones. There's no iPhones.
You don't have your cell phone, and you can't write to anybody else other than your parents. And the letters have to be on the up and up, as some of them.
Is it mandatory to write your parents?
Yes.
So
you have to write them 2 times a week.
Because you're so upset because they locked you up in this place. What happened?
Your demerits will pile up to the point of where you're going to have to go into the Get Right room. Because after it was the size of like a closet, it wasn't very big, had nothing on the walls, and a helper would sit not inside of the room, because the one at the school that I went to at Victory, it was like, you know, like this, and they had a little room outside, but the closet door was open, so they would put the girls in a closet, and it smelled like pee when you went in there, because I was in there for a week. It smelled like pee because you had to get permission to go to the bathroom. There was not a bathroom in that area.
Permission to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to ask permission to go to the bathroom, or being denied a simple privilege to urinate or to have a bowel movement? You have to ask permission, or it's designated. Let's talk about the bathroom, and let's talk about a demerit. So if you're in the middle of the night, did you have an alarm system that crisscrossed?
We didn't have a laser, but we had sensors on the floor to where they could tell if you were up in the middle of the night.
Okay, so you had sensors on the floor. We had a crisscross that looked like Tron. Same difference. If you get out, the alarm will just go off, and it is loud. It is so loud. It'll wake up the dead. Let's say you had to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. What happens?
You would have to wake up a helper to escort you to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and that would be an automatic demerit. So
now you're being punished to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. So you would have to hold it the whole night till the next morning to go to the bathroom.
Mackenzie, I cannot believe that they are designating when you can and cannot go to the bathroom. Were girls just going to the bathroom inside the Get Right room?
They would pretty much go to the bathroom on themselves, and then there's always a chance of when the girls did that they would get paddled. They would be brought into the office, and they would paddle them.
Oh my God.
And the office sits right off the chapel, so I could hear it.
Oh my God. That was going to be my next question. Are you hearing screaming throughout your stay at Victory? They just took on the flag of Christianity. So here you were, you're used to hearing hymns in church at your Methodist church. Everything was loving, peace, and Jesus, and God was nice and fluffy. And here you are hearing screaming.
Yes, they would be on the pulpit and preach and be giving a very hard, stern sermon to the girls. And what I mean by that is they would call the girls whores. They would call the girls out for being too fat because they said that gluttony was a sin. And so girls that were too fat in the program, they would say that they're gluttonous and that's a sin. And so they would be preaching at these girls. I mean, it was an attack on these girls. It was not what you would think of as a sermon. And then there would be girls crying in the background. If you got too close to girls at Victory, they would put you on separation. And that meant that if you looked at each other, you had to look down. So you
feel like you're an untouchable to society. Because when you put your head down and when you can't even look up at another human being, what do you think that does? They're orchestrating this whole thing for children to abuse other children. And that is wrong. What goes on in these rap sessions? Can you please describe it?
They would get together and they would say the meanest, hateful things that I've ever heard come out of a human's mouth.
Where you're having a child take care of another child.
All the girls say that they're, hateful to their parents, they're disobedient to their parents, they're disgraces to their parents, that their parents don't love them, that they're surprised that their parents even write to them. And that's another thing. They will take your letters from you and tell you that your parents don't love you because that happened to me.
Oh, that's so sad. And when they're saying these negative affirmations, do they have the Bible open?
A lot of times I'll have the Bible open, and I remember these rap sessions were held in the cafeteria over a loudspeaker into a microphone.
My God. And are they praying too right before the session?
They'll pray before the session. Who weren't professing that they were saved publicly in front of the church would never get off buddy.
What if I were Jewish, Muslim, Buddhist?
They didn't believe in those religions.
Let's talk about the free labor that they were getting. So not only is this $1 billion industry, right? Who was doing the laundry? Who was doing all the cooking? Who was doing all the yard work outside and digging ditches? Do you want to fill me in on what was going on over there?
Yeah, so you had students, basically girls of Victory, were doing all of the yard work. They would do all of the labor. They would, when I was there, we would lift heavy rocks.
What kind of a paycheck did you receive for doing this? Because when I was a kid, I used to work at McDonald's and a clothing store, and I had a paycheck. Did you have a paycheck?
No.
I don't mind volunteering my time for a church. Prior to Victory Christian Academy, I used to volunteer my time all the time, but that was my choice. And they weren't abusing little girls, so slavery. So it's not even a sweatshop. A sweatshop, they at least get paid something. Carrie Dunn died in 1988 when I was there. I was in Ramona, California in 1988. She died on the property, building a church with no construction. She died because of Victory Christian Academy's negligence, and yet he was able to open up another facility in Mexico.
It really did seem like negligence.
If we had oversight from the state, maybe that wouldn't have happened.
There wasn't a shadow of doubt in my mind that he did what he did. She accused him of rape, and there's an article about it. And she was saying that he was coming to her parents' house, offering her mom money. I think it was like $25,000 or something like that. And Palmer thought that he could buy Ramirez from her parents. And that, he was offering them money, and he took them out to go to lunch, and this is what he was doing. He wanted to buy Ramirez.
Oh my God, that's awful.
When that accusation came out, staff members that had been there for years, that were there in California, started packing up and leaving.
Okay, so we have free labor, we have rape going on in this place, we have a death.
Right.
We have beatings in the office.
Yep. You have beatings in the get right room.
Hymnals playing throughout this camp. So you have an association to Christian music and beatings and girls screaming.
I had gotten taken off the medication, and what happened was I started throwing up. And so I was throwing up so much. I was so weak, and I was heavy set back then. By the time I had got out of Victory, I was less than 150 pounds.
Oh my God.
And I was 200 pounds or more when I entered Victory.
And to lose that weight so rapidly like that, that could cause health issues.
By the time I had hit my 3 months, I had lost all that weight because they took me off of the medication automatically. They didn't wean me off of the medication. They said, you don't need pills, you need the gospel. And they would not give me my depression medication. And so what happened was I went through a severe withdrawal, and then you were not allowed to vomit in that place. And I ended up vomiting on my food, and I was forced to eat my own vomit. And they threatened to start my time over because they said I was a faker, because they said that the withdrawals were not true and I was faking it in the program, so I was forced to eat my own vomit.
How the hell could you be faking it when nobody wants to vomit and then eat their own vomit? You can't possibly be faking it. Was there any medical staff on board?
No. So not only am I writing to my parents 2 times a week, I'm not getting any letters incoming. He told me that my parents didn't love me, that they didn't care anymore, and they wanted nothing to do with me. And so I wasn't even getting any letters from my parents because he had taken them from me. He instructed every staff member to take those letters from me and tell me that my parents didn't love me.
This was one of my first visits from my parents at Victory. I was still on Buddy, and I had to fake a smile to get along in the program.
Were girls locked in isolation for days, weeks, and months at a time? Did you Roloff? Lester Roloff is the mastermind behind this cult. He started it in 1968 with the Rebecca Home for Girls. This is all interconnected, even with the Circle of Hope, which we're trying to close down. So Rebecca Home for Girls, New Bethany, the Hephzibah House that just closed down after being open for almost 5 decades. 5 decades. New Bethany, Hephzibah House, Circle of Hope, Rebecca Homes for Girls, and Victory Christian, which was rebranded to the Lighthouse, and Genesis by the Sea. And you are always afraid of making a mistake. You're always on edge. This place is crazy. You know, you couldn't vent and say, hey, Mackenzie, you know what? They're really abusing people in the name of God. This is not Christian. If I were to say something like that, what would happen to me?
Basically, what would happen to you is you would, well, I know what would happen to me is I would have gone to the Get Right room. I would have been floored. I would have gotten soap in my mouth. They threatened to start my time over just based off of the simple fact that I was throwing up. So they could start your time over at Victory. I had to carry a bucket around with me as a form of humiliation, not only because I was just throwing up so much, and there were times where I would walk around and I wouldn't puke, but I had to physically carry a bucket with me. And so I remember some of the staff members calling me, I'm sorry.
Okay, take your time.
They called me Bucket Heavy, one of the staff members, because my name's Mackenzie. He would call me Big Mac, and he thought it was funny.
It's almost as if they took your soul.
Yeah. 16, 17-year-olds would sit on top of a 10-year-old girl. And
it's a camp here in America. By the way, this is the USA. USA, and this is happening still today.
Yeah.
The Circle of Hope Girls Ranch is still open. It's a sister program of this. We'll talk about, that's just one school of many. Let's talk about Stockholm Syndrome for a minute. Those survivors that come out of this place and think that this is the best thing that ever happened to them, they literally sticking up for someone who held them captive. And they hold their abuser in the highest regard.
It's because by the end of it, they're so brainwashed. I had a psychiatrist tell me that I was lucky to be alive because of how quickly I was taken off of the medication and how much I had lost weight. I showed him a before and after picture.
Did you think, what the hell is going on, and why are all these girls agreeing with it, and staff, other staff, and you're thinking, where the hell am I? Is this the Twilight Zone? It's almost as if they took your soul.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for being on the show. It was such an honor to have you here, and I appreciate you being brave and telling your story. We need more survivors to come forth and tell their stories so we can provide oversight in this country. There needs to be changes. Please, I urge you to get a hold of your congressman or get a hold of Adam Schiff and have him reintroduce to Stop Child Abuse in Residential Programs Teen Act. This is a federal bill. This is an epidemic that's happening across our country. I want this to stop. If you are a parent and you are contemplating sending your child to a lockdown reform school, wilderness camp, boot camp for kids, rehabilitation program, conversion therapy, if you have a 1% chance that this could happen to your child, why would you even take that risk? My name is Jeneen Miller, and this is Pieces of Victory.
Out there in TV land, yes, especially Nancy, and yes, you're my friend, and yes, I love you all, and what else? I love Aunt Marcia, and I send her my best wishes, and Aunt Denise, and everyone else, and Jeffrey, keep on playing the drums, and Grandma Crandall, and Papa C, I love you too, and everyone else, and just have a great Easter. Bye. I love you too.